We are now in one of the classrooms on Szent István University in Budapest. As you can see, because of this pandemic situation, there are no students in the classroom. Only teachers can enter into buildings to prepare online education. I'm Igor and I teach the basics of mechanical engineering. And I noticed that for some of my students, it's a little bit hard to understand sections in technical drawing. So I decided to design and 3D print few objects from the workbook. And this will be a very good opportunity for me to practice inserting magnets into 3D printed objects. I mean, a lot of magnets. So let's start with the basics. Here we have a simple box with the hole inside. And if you want to draw this in front view, well, we cannot see the hole, but we can use hidden lines. Then we can see a little bit what is in that hole. But imagine that we have a lot of holes here, and then using a hidden lines may be a little bit confusing, and in this case we would like to use a section for this. And how does it work? First we have to imagine that we use a hacksaw and cut this box into two pieces, and then we remove the front part, and this is what we get. Where the saw blade touched the metal, we can see those lines of the cutting. Well, these will be those section lines. And as you can see, those the blade didn't touch this part of the hole. So that's why here we don't have these lines. And basically, if we draw this view, then we will get a section view of this object. And in my first example, I will show you this object where the cutting plane is exactly on the symmetrical plane. In this case, we don't have any additional marks on our section, only draw the section view with those section lines. Okay, let's design and 3D print this object. Of course, here I started with a sketch which I extruded, and I can repeat this until I get the final object. And at this moment, I can even enable here the section analysis, and basically this is it. This is how it looks like in the section. But I need this in reality, so I need this 3D printed, because this is only visual in the Fusion 360. So I use the split tool, and now it is cut into two pieces. Only this I made a little bit transparent. And then I used an offset plane on this surface, but I use offset of the 0.8 millimeters, and this will give me two layers, so between magnet and the contact surface. And here I draw these shapes, and then I extruded them. So with this I can get these holes. Of course I repeated it with the other half, and then I have basically prepared two halves for the 3D printing. Inside is a hole, only I have to convert it into G-code with pause the printing for the inserting the magnets. This is Prusa Slicer, software for preparing for 3D printing. These are two objects I will print, and one important thing I have to add is to find that spot where can I insert the magnet. Here are the holes for two magnets, and exactly on 8.2 millimeter beginning of this layer I have to stop the printing to insert magnets into these objects. Okay, now I can do it automatically in this software. I have holes here. Okay, the 27.4. Now I can slice and download the G-code. This is the G-code. Now I have to replace the M600 command. This is for filament change, because I don't need filament change here. I don't want to unload and insert new filament. I just want to stop the printing, and I will replace the M600 command with this code here. Search for M600. This is on 8.2 2 millimeter. And this is another M600. Save, and G-code is ready for 3D printing. Magnets are ready. I prepared them on this cardboard because it's easier to take them off and put them in the correct position. It is very important to take care of the polarity for the magnets. And then on the certain layer I heard a beep sound, and here I have to insert the magnets. You can see I prepared the magnets on a piece of paper because it is very important to insert them with the proper polarity, because you want two pieces to pull each other, not push each other. So think over this polarity, because you cannot turn the magnets when the printing is finished. And also be careful if it's not too tight, then metallic parts may pull out the magnets from its place. In that case, you can use a drop of the super glue and then insert the magnet, so it will stay in the place. And this is the second layer when I'm inserting the magnets, of course with correct polarity. And this is the closing layer. I draw the lines with the permanent marker, and this is how it looks like after 3D printing. This is the next object, and this has to be drawn in the half section. And this is this object in 3 dimensions. Half section can be used only with objects with two symmetrical planes. So like this is symmetrical on this and this plane here. Half section is commonly used with revolved or cylindrical type of the objects like pipes, because in one view we can show how the object looks like from inside and outside. This means the right side in this view has to be drawn in a section, and the left side will be in a view. For this I use these two lines as a tool for the split of the body. And now I have two objects. This is the first object and this is the second object. And basically this is this will be in a section. This I want to 3D print. Only I have to create a holes for the magnets. I use different magnets, waste magnets in different size. I will enable transparency. And detailed design was explained in the previous object. So here I would just want to show you the final version. So I will have two pair of magnets. This one will be a bigger one, and this will be the small one. This bigger one is, I had some waste magnets, I want to use them for this object. These are my objects, but I don't want those magnets to be too close to each other until the printing, so I will move this part here. And then I have to analyze this and to insert those color changes, which will be basically just pause, stop the printing. This will be the first moment, and this is the hole for the next magnet. When is it closed? Here. And the rest will be printed. And this is the next object from the workbook. As you can see here, we have some drawings which are not finished yet, so we have to finish them, or my students. And this is now this object in 3 dimensions. So we have here sections, full sections, but they're not on symmetrical plane. In this case, we have to do additional marks. I will explain you at the end of this part of the video. But first, let's see that object. So we have here some holes, but they are not in the same plane. And let me show you in the section analysis in the Fusion 360. So this is in this, let's name it section A, and this will be the section B, only we have to see it from the other side. Okay, so in Fusion 360 so far this is one body, one object, but then again I use a split tool to create 3 different objects, and then I have to insert those holes. Let me show you in transparent object. So now you can see those squares, these are holes for the magnets. Here you have 6 pairs of the magnets which I have to insert. So let's prepare this in a slicer. Let's find those holes for layers for magnets. Here they are, 8 holes for magnets, and let's find out where are they covered. And after this they are not visible, and the rest of the printing. Magnets are ready. This is the next drawing from the workbook. It's called broken out section. This means in the view only the part which is in front of the holes will be broken out. This is commonly used on complex objects, and you don't want to draw the full body in the section, only that part which covers the hole. And now this is one very simple object in the Fusion 360. It's a box with the hole inside, and we want to draw it in this view in the broken out section. This means only this part has to be broken. So I draw these lines here and I extrude them, so this part is already now a separated body. So the students can pull out this object and see how it looks like in reality. And of course I added here holes for the magnets. Let me turn on the transparency. So you can see here I will have only one magnet because it will be already very tight here. I added 0.1 mm of gap for 3D printing, and I don't have to use here any supports. These are 2 objects for cutout section. I pulled this out because I don't want two magnets to be too close to each other. And again I have to add that filament change, which will be stopping the printing. And this is the last drawing in this video. It's so-called offset section. In this case, the cutting plane is not just one plane, but we are using some offsets in the cutting in section, so we can show only holes which we would like to see in the view. Of course, with this object it doesn't make too much sense. It would be better if we use two straight lines for the cutting. But for example, if those holes are not aligned, like for example in this drawing, then here it makes sense because we can show inside of these parts only on one view. Here I will I'm designing a 3D printing object only to show the upper section view. This is three-dimensional object. I draw those holes which are on that drawing. And now we have to do cutting here and here. So I draw these lines again in this plane, and I use them for a base for the split tool. And then the rest, what I had to do is to add those holes, but again that was detailedly explained in the first object. But I will show you only here in transparency that those holes are there. I usually always measure the magnet and I add 0.1 millimeter of clearance, so I'm sure that if we go inside. And I use different size of the magnets because I use some waste magnets, so I have some broken magnets, so I want to use them somewhere. As here you can see 1, 2, 3 pairs of the magnets will be added in this object. Don't forget, in the drawing, this is how it looks like drawing. This line is only imaginary line, so it's not drawn in the final view. This here. Okay, these are two objects. I think it will be now distance to be far enough to magnets don't be too close during the printing. And let's find the position where can I insert the magnet, because I have to stop the printing at this position. So these are the holes for magnets. I will use two different sizes for magnets, but they will be close in the same time, in same layer, 9.6 millimeters. So here will be inserted that M600 command by this slicer, which will I replace with my code for stopping the printing. This video is mostly about sections, but few summary words about inserting the magnets. My advice: buy a lot of magnets from the same size, make that your standard. Measure it, and I always add 0.1 mm of clearance on each side, because in that case, in my case, it will be tight when I place it in the hole. Otherwise, to me only happened once that pin the probe, pull out the magnet because it's from metal, and I noticed sometimes, so I could pause the printing, I put some drop of the super glue in the hole, I placed back the magnet, and I could, after a few seconds, I could continue the printing. So always pay attention, follow your printing until the hole is covered by bridging. If you are using a pair of magnets, pay attention to the polarity. My advice: put the same magnets on cardboard on two different sides, and without rotating, take them off and place into the hole. And about these objects which I use in this video, if from some reason you want to 3D print them, I will upload all STL files to my website, but also you probably will have different magnets, so I will upload Fusion 360 source files so you can easily modify the dimensions of that hole, so you can use it with your magnets. The link is in the description, mytechfun.com, you can find it easily. And I hope this video was useful. Thank you for watching, and happy printing!